Good morning, guys. It's Saturday morning here, and excited to jump in with you. I'm always excited to do these things. These things, to me, it's almost like, oh, I could do anything. There's so many places we could go, Lord, and so I really do try to patiently wait on Him in my own time before I release on anything else. It's never a good thing for someone to try to release what they don't carry. In the natural, it's not even possible, but in the spiritual realm, you can actually you can try and give away something you have not apprehended. But today I've been captured with this idea of attracting God, of meeting with God and being someone that He wants to meet with. And the reality is, the truth is, He meets with all of us. He's in us. If you're a Christian, He's always around. There's nowhere you can go that He's not. But there's also a habitation. It's the difference between feeling anxious in your own thoughts versus feeling the pleasure of God in your thoughts. And He is there no matter where you go. David says, if I go to the depths of Sheol, there you are. Where can I go that you are not? Nothing can separate you from His presence, from His love. However, there is a habitation. There is a hosting Him. There's a quote by a guy named Rick Joyner that I heard recently as I'm reading a book by Michael Miller. I'll call his names. And it's a great book if you want to look into it. It's basically all about hosting God in a church, in a building. But Rick Warren says this, something like this. He says something like, isn't it time that what would happen if we began to build our churches in such a way that they attract God instead of building them to attract men? What would it be like if we built our churches to attract God instead of trying to attract men? And every time I hear that, I'm just a little like, I want to be like, hey, He didn't really mean it that way, did He? And God, what do you think about that? And what am I doing right now as I build a church with the Lord? My church is called Presence. And I just thought about that. I thought, gosh, attracting God instead of trying to attract men. And my mind went to serving Him and being a servant of God and not a servant of man. If you're trying to serve as a church, if you're trying to serve man, that means you have to tailor everything to them so that they come, so that they stay, so that they give on offering, a tithing, so that they like you. And so what do you end up doing? Well, you end up decorating a certain way. You make sure the seats are thick enough for people's bottoms. You make sure the worship's not too long. Make sure it's exciting enough. You make sure the sermons are very connectable to them. Don't sing any songs that they won't be able to grab a hold of in their new Christianity. So avoid songs about heavenly places, because we don't have you for that. Make sure you connect them with their brokenness instead of connecting them with God's righteousness. All these things come to mind. But Galatians 1:10 says this, and I remember memorizing this on a hike when I was in college. This is Paul, and he's talking about verse 9. It says, and we have, verse 6, I am amazed that you are so quickly deserting Him, God, who called you by the grace of Christ for a different gospel. Meaning they're leaving the original gospel of grace. And the Galatians, they were actually going after, I don't want to talk too much, they were going after the gospel of works, of like, how can I be a better Christian and do more? Basically, they wanted to please God. They wanted to please God by doing their own works, by doing the things that man would think are a good idea. And so Paul basically rebukes him, saying, why are you leaving the original gospel of just pursuing the favor and the love of God, serving Jesus instead of serving man? So verse 10, it says this, for am I now seeking the favor of men or of God? For if I am striving to please men, or am I striving to please men? Let me say it again. For am I now seeking the favor of men or of God? Or am I striving to please men? If I were still trying to please men, I would not be a bondservant of Christ. And so the point here is that are you seeking to attract men, people, or are you seeking to attract God? And I just, this is a bit of a teaching, not as much of a prayer time, but I hope that we'll pray in a second. There's something powerful here. And, as I was delving into this too, I was like, well, isn't there ways Jesus actually grew in favor with God and man, it says. Oddly enough, the King of the universe's son, Jesus, God himself, came to the earth and began to increase in favor with God and with man, which is wild. I was noticing in Romans 15, as I was just doing a little bit of research before this for my own self, Romans 15 says this in verse 2. I'll start verse 1. Now we who are strong, I want to be strong. Think about that, Lord. Lord, I want to be a man that prays from a place of strength and weakness and meekness and humility, but I want to be strong in the Lord. I want to be heavily armored with the sword of truth and the shield. Ah, yes, Lord. Now we who are strong ought to bear the weaknesses of those without strength and not just please ourselves. Each of us is to please his neighbor for his good, to his edification. For even Christ did not please himself, but as it is written, the reproaches of those who reproached you fell on me. Isn't that amazing? So God says, for I say that Christ has become a servant. He's become a servant to those circumcised, to those that have given themselves over to you. This is the deal, guys, that we are called to serve God and not man. And yet, there are times that in our serving God, we are called to actually honor and serve others, to please our neighbor. So what does it mean to please man? Well, we're called to please man in so much as it loves them. It lines up. And I thought about 1 Corinthians 13, the testimony of love. Like, this is how we please man. We're supposed to please man in the areas of being patient, being kind, being not easily angered, being slow, being generous, being joyful, being full of love. Are you trying to please man throughout your day? How do we please man in an improper way? I thought about that too. I think about dressing nice. I like dressing nice. I just like clothes that fit me well and make me feel good and things like that. It makes me feel like, I hate pants that I can't run around in and play with my kids. So that's not arrogance, it's not prideful. But it becomes prideful when I over-obsess over the shirt I'm wearing as if people are going to like it or not. When I think about how am I pleasing people, when I think about my preaching, am I trying to please people with great communication skills, or am I trying to please the Lord with preaching revelation from him by saying what he's told me to say when I depart from what he's told me to say, so that people will understand me, so that people will get me. When I go down that road, I've departed from pleasing God, and now I'm after pleasing man. When you begin to abandon integrity and character with the Lord in order for people to like you, when you begin to lie or tell half-truths to people so that they don't get offended at you, but in your heart you're lying, you're pleasing man instead of God. When you begin to spend more time, when you depart from time spent with the Lord so that you can go spend time with your friends, it's for the reason of, like, I want to be a good friend, I want to hang out, I want to have fun, I want to please myself because I need this stuff. When you prioritize you time over the time serving others and serving God, spending time with the Lord, then you are at least in danger of this thing. And I don't make this a religious thing that you have to check a box and I spend enough time with God. That's trash. There's no requirement to spend time with your Bible and did I meditate on his word long enough day and night? Like, no. The point of the message is your heart after pleasing the Lord, or is it after pleasing yourself and pleasing man? Are you trying to build wealth to please man, to please your own needs and wants and deeds? Or are you building wealth to truly give it away? How do you know this is true? Well, do you give away wealth anyway before you're rich? If you don't, chances are you're building wealth to satisfy your own selfishness. Oh man, that kind of hits me. You guys, this stuff has to convict us. That's a good one, you guys. These are little moments of just recognizing I say one thing, but my heart is really far from him in this area. Do you really want to honor him with your time? Or do you just want to feel like you're doing right by him? Do right by him just to love him and honor him and want to spend time with him. If you don't have it, if you keep choosing other things, then it's easy to see what you're going after. This is not a condemnation. This is not a message to spend more time with him, to all this stuff. This is just a message to let your heart feel this so that when you have the option of spending time with him, of giving generously or holding on to it, when you have the option of serving your friend, serving the people that are around you, serving a father or mother in your life, when you have those opportunities to serve, to give yourself, as it says, each of us is to please his neighbor for his good, for edification. We who are strong ought to bear the weaknesses of those without strength, not just pleasing ourselves. I promise you, it's not about did you do it and do you feel good about doing it. It's about a core in your being of knowing that my heart is not holding on to anything. Because the more you choose selfishness, to choose to please yourself, to please man, the more you do that, the more you are building a kingdom built on you. It's just built on you. It's not really built on others because you're trying to please them for your own edification. It's built on you. And I promise you, all these people that are deconstructing their faith, they're doing it because they originally built the foundation on themselves. That's why they're deconstructing it. Listen, a house built on God does not need to be deconstructed. It is the house built on man that needs to be deconstructed. And I have a friend that's deconstructing her faith right now, but she's doing it from a place of realizing, I built this on me. All this religious acts, worship leading, prayer time, I did it on me and not on him. Father, let me do this now rightly. Let me begin to just knock this house down and rebuild it with Christ. Most people that deconstruct their faith, they end up departing from the gospel, the true gospel that has action. They leave the church, they leave generosity, they leave selflessness, they leave servanthood, and they go after something else that looks more like themselves than it did before, which is horrible. So my heart here isn't to convict you of sometimes I feel like I do that, and I'm sorry if that's what you're feeling. My heart is that we would build a house that's grounded and rooted in him. And so every opportunity you have to make a decision, it's not about the past decisions. It's right here, right now. I can wake up and I can stop and just pray to him for 30 seconds. Or I can just get up and go on with my day because I don't have time for this. Let's pray. Let's just go after this. I'm sorry, this feels like it got heavy. Maybe it's the music. Maybe it's just, maybe it's the Lord. I wasn't even going to talk about this because I felt like this felt heavy. And then as I started going back to the Psalms, which feel lighter and more prayerful and worshipful, I felt like the Lord say, Jesse, are you trying to please people? Or are you trying to please me? And so I went back. I said, Lord, I just want to do what you want to do. And if nobody watches this video more than a minute in because they're just like, nah, I don't care. And so I hope this helps you make similar decisions for your life. I hope to model something in some ways because, I don't have it down, but I am moving forward. And I pray you are too. Father, close this book up. Father, I bless you this morning, God. Lord, we give you our hearts. We give you our minds, God. I pray that we would move in meekness and in weakness and in trembling, fully dependent on you, God. I pray that we would walk strong, though, Lord. I pray that in our meekness we would be strong. I heard one time Hattie Baker said, meekness is not weakness. Meekness is strength withheld, held back. Ooh, I want to be strong in you, Lord. I want to be a mighty man of God, and I pray there are mighty women of God listening. I say right now that you are called to be mighty in your weakness. You are called to be a strong Christian, armored and prepared for every good deed, equipped You have been built strong by the Lord. Don't become weak by worrying about other people, what they think about you, your bank account, the call on your life. Don't let anybody tell you what you can and can't do. Rely on the word of the Lord. And in that, let your meekness and weakness be known to all as you serve them, because you are strong, from Romans 15 says. You are strong, and so you are able to go low and serve the world. Oh, and as you serve, as you sow into meekness, you will reap the kingdom. You will reap health. You will reap wealth. You will reap more than enough for every good work. You will reap generosity when you are generous. All these things will be given to you. Just seek first his kingdom. And what does that mean? It means to please the Lord. And so let me finish with this. Lord, may we be people that attract you and not man. May our churches be places that are designed and constructed and led so that they attract heaven's presence. God, we love you. We want to be filled with you. I don't have to worry about what resources I have for today and what today's going to be like. I've got you, and that's all I need. Bless you guys. Have a great night or a great day. I got a good day ahead of me. I got soccer game today. Oh, I love watching my son. I just want to meet you all sometimes. All right. Maybe one day we'll do a Zoom and I get to meet some of the people that watch. That just sounds like fun. I'm so relational. Bye, guys.